the dice stay hot. Let me shoot a 7 with every shot. Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas! I'm gonna give it everything I've got. Lady luck, please let the...
Welcome to Vegas Talk Radio, the internet radio show about the news, people, entertainment, opportunities, and events in the best resort and vacation destination and fastest growing city in America, Las Vegas, Nevada. If it's worth your time and money, you'll hear about it here. And now, here's your host, Charlie Bass.
Well, on today's show, we have a very special guest. We have a guy who plays in Las Vegas quite often, and actually he's played all over the world. He's been on television. He's been in the movies. He's won all kinds of awards, and he has a lot of awards coming up that he hasn't even been nominated for, and I'm really pleased to introduce Mr. Jon Lovitz to everybody. Jon, how are you doing?
Great, thanks.
Jon, do me a big favor. You know, how did you get started in television? I think that's the first place America saw you was on Saturday Night Live. But how did that come about?
Well, I did plays in high school, and then I went to UC Irvine for college, and I decided to become a drama major. And then I got a degree in drama after 4 years, and I had great teachers there. And then I studied for a year and a half with this guy Tony Barr at the Film Actors Workshop, and he was great. And then I went to New York for about a year. I was 23 then, and I wasn't getting any work. And I did the Renaissance Fair and Lady Windermere's Fan, the soft off-Broadway play, and I still wasn't getting any work. So I moved back to Los Angeles when I was 25, and I started taking classes at the Groundlings Theater, which is an improv group and a sketch comedy group, and I just loved it. And so I was lucky, and I worked hard though, but I worked my way through the classes after a year, and then they had a Sunday company, and I was in that for a year and a half, and then I got in the main company in September of '84, and then in January of '85. We were doing a new show there, and I was doing my liar character, and a guy, Tonight Show, Jim McCauley, he decided to put the Groundlings on the Tonight Show, so that was the first time I had one other job before that on the Paper Chase the second year on cable when I was 25, and then nothing for 3 years. So Jim McCauley put us on the Tonight Show, and then that got me an agent, and then I got a series and a movie in the same day.
Wow.
And in July, and then I did this series. I did like 5 or 6 shows, and then I got this movie with Charles Grodin. And at the same time, I was auditioning for Saturday Night Live, and he recommended me to Lorne Michaels, and Lorraine Newman had been in the original cast, and she'd been in the Groundlings Theater. She saw me at the Groundlings, and she recommended me to Lorne, and everyone just started recommending me. And Jim McCauley recommended me to the casting director, who was casting Saturday Night Live out of Los Angeles, and it just all fell together, and Franken and Davis saw me, and I got lucky, really.
So needless
I really got lucky to get the show. Well, I'll tell you why, because Al Franken said to me, because you were everything we didn't want in one person, but you were funny.
And that's what the show was about, so you were hired.
Yeah, I got very lucky. Actually, from Los Angeles, the 3 of us on the plane were myself and Dennis Miller and Damon Wayans, and we all got the show.
Well, that's great. Now, had you known Dennis Miller and these guys before?
No, I hadn't known any of them.
Now, how long were you on Saturday Night Live? Because it seemed like forever, and I'm so used to your characters.
I was on it 5 years, from 1985 to 1990. So it's weird to think that was 17 years ago.
I know, it's amazing. And to say that you were an overnight success, you just had to find the right night, right?
Yeah, right. It took me 13 years.
So
really overnight.
Now the routine of a weekly show for 5 years, I'm sure that's got to be draining. Now, do you like that, or do you like movies? You know, what's been the best thing?
Well, I like both. I mean, they're all different. I think live television is the most exciting performing arena there is, because it combines everything. You're performing in front of a live audience, and at the same time, it's being you're doing it for the cameras, which is like film.
Right.
So you have to play for the cameras, but and it's going out live to millions of people. So there's just an electric atmosphere in the studio when you're doing that. It's just different from anything else. And I enjoyed it. It was a lot of hard work. It was very competitive. I mean, honestly, every week you'd have your highest highs and your lowest lows, and there'd be weeks where I'd say, "Get me the hell off this show," and it was very tough. But overall, I liked it, and but it was very, very competitive. you'd write there'd be 30 to 40 scenes or sketches written every week, and 8 got on the air.
Right.
Now so it was very competitive.
When they did,
but at the same time, you got to write and perform your own material, which I really love doing. Which is why I like doing stand-up now, because I get to do that again.
Now, how long has it been since you've done stand-up? I know you've been doing it for a few years again, but did you?
Well, I'd done Woody Allen and Lenny Bruce's routines in my college dorm, and then right after college, I went to the Comedy Store, which was the hot club in Los Angeles, and they had a free workshop on the weekends teaching stand-up. But the guy teaching it said, you know, if you're trying to become a stand-up so you get into sitcoms, don't waste your time. And I said, why? He goes, because they're not hiring stand-ups for sitcoms. I said, really? You think they would? You guys are funny. He goes, well, they're not. And then years later, I realized they weren't hiring him.
That's right.
And I remember I told Jay Leno this story about a year ago, and he goes, oh, yeah, that was so-and-so. He knew the guy. And Fraser Smith, who's hosting my show at the Orleans, he was a stand-up back then, and, you know, he's a huge DJ in the radio. And I told him that story. He goes, oh, yeah, that was so-and-so. And I'd forgotten the guy's name. They both knew exactly who it was. And so I didn't do it. But when I got on Saturday Night Live, Dennis Miller had been a stand-up for years, said, hey, you could do stand-up. Why don't you come with me? And he would take me to Catch a Rising Star. And I, you know, I would get up, but I would be really nervous. I mean, my heart, you could just feel it pounding in my chest. And it took me a long time to overcome that fear, because you're just standing there by yourself. And I even do a joke back there. Everyone's just staring at me, waiting for me to make them laugh. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an overwhelming feeling if you don't know what you're doing. But about, I guess, 3 years ago, the movies were kind of drying up, and I said, boy, if I'm going to do this, it's something I always wanted to do. Plus, I was kind of forced to do it for financial reasons. Not that I was anywhere near broke.
Right.
But if you know, I still needed to make money. So the situation forced me to do it. And so I started going to the Laugh Factory, which is a club on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. And the owner, Jamie Masada, he'd always said, if you ever want to do this, you know, it's fine. And Bud Friedman of the Improv, he always was supportive of me, too. But he wasn't at the club anymore, so I went to the Laugh Factory, I decided. And I said to Jamie, I go, all right, you just got to push me up on stage. Because, I mean, I was just so, I can't tell you, petrified I was. But I started doing it, and Dana Carvey's one of my good friends, and he helped me a lot. And he said, look, that fear is normal. You got to just keep going back up on stage, and eventually it goes away. And that's what happened. And I did it, and I started off doing like 5 minutes here, and I started hosting shows with Kevin Nealon and Victoria Jackson and Norm Macdonald, because they'd already been doing stand-up, you know, for years.
Right.
And actually, the first time I was in Vegas, I was with them at the Rio Hotel, and I was hosting the show. And it's stand-up. It's really interesting. It's so different than anything else. And you go. They say, "Can you do 10 minutes?" And you go, "Oh my God, it feels like forever." Now it feels like nothing.
Now, when you do stand up, I mean, you come out with a set number, I'm assuming, of subjects you want to talk about in certain routines.
Right.
And then
well, I'll say that, you know, my show, you know, you're in a Vegas or a club, you know, it's basically rated R. It's for adults only. You can say anything and talk about anything. And as Dana Carvey said to me, he said, listen, he goes, you have an act already, you don't even know it. And I said, I do. He goes, yes. He goes, there's no rules. He goes, just be funny. And he goes, you're already funny. And you're likable. And you just got to come up with the material. And what I found in the beginning, I would try to do stuff that I used to do on Saturday Night Live, my characters, but it didn't really work, which is fine with me because I didn't want to just repeat myself. So I just started doing material on you know, my personality and my opinions on everything from religion and politics, and I like to play the piano and sing funny songs, so I put that in the act. So I just said I'm not going to limit myself to any one style. Whatever I think of, you know, that's funny, I'll put it in the act. And so that's what I do, and that helped me, you know, get the act together.
Now, do you play around the country too? I mean, do you travel, you know, most of the year?
Yeah, I've been doing well since last June. It's been a year now. I've been going all over. This will be my third time at the Orleans Hotel. I did it last summer, and they were really pleased with me, and I sold out the show, so they brought me back. I think I was there in January, and then I'll be there again, you know, July. I think it's 27th, 28th, and 29th.
Right.
And it's, you know, it's a real honor because after this time in January, they had Dennis Miller performing there. They had George Carlin. I was like, wow, and me, you know, and I haven't been doing it that long.
Well,
but I've been performing my whole life, so it's not like I'm a beginner performer, you know. So.
Well, no, I mean.